the bladed jig has definitely earned its keep on my kayak. It's my confidence bait. Everybody out there knows I love throwing the ChatterBait, the bladed jig. It's a bait that has proven success for me time after time, and I thought, why not put together a video on the bladed jig, the techniques that I use, and where I fish it, how I fish it. So this is going to be a very in-depth featurette on the bladed jig. So sit back, relax. There's going to be a lot of fish caught, but I hope at the end of this you'll see how I implement the bladed jig in my fishing and how you could implement it in yours. Spring ChatterBait tips. As the water begins to warm and the fish are starting to thaw out from a long winter's nap, the ChatterBait shines in the spring period. It's a great bait for every season, but the spring seems to trigger explosive strikes that will make your heart skip a few beats. I like to look for sections on the body of water where shallow flats drop off into deeper water. These are places the fish will gravitate towards. Also, sections that have rock and wood will hold warmth from the sun's rays and attract fish. If you have any rivers or streams coming into that water, that would be an ideal location to target. Then as the fish move shallow to get into their spawning cycle, the ChatterBait frenzy will reach monumental proportions. I like to fish the ChatterBait in a slow roll retrieve, letting it swim right over the bottom. Also, when bringing it back to the boat, give it a few jerks and let it fall to the bottom. Then repeat the retrieve and pay close attention to the vibration emanating from the bait. If you feel the vibration become weak, you probably have weeds stuck on the bait, and it just needs a quick pop to get it free of the vegetation. Pay close attention to the shallow water when the fish move shallow. I have gotten some of my best strikes right off the shoreline. If you don't have a fish finder, one of the best indications is watching the sunfish. When you see them in the shallow water, the bass are always near. This brings me to my color selection and how I like to match the hatch. Sunfish, crawfish, and perch are the main course this time of the year, and I want my bait to reflect the natural prey fish color. I will choose perch, sunfish, green pumpkin, watermelon, even motor oil colors. The 3/8 ounce size is my go-to, but sometimes I find that the smaller 1/4 size is better in the spring. In the summer, I like to implement the power fishing technique with my ChatterBait. I want to cover water quickly and fish as much of the location as possible. The ChatterBait gives me everything I need to coax that summer bite. It is an outstanding bait to fish at night because it gives off a high and intense vibration. This bait screams to the fish, "I'm here, eat me." You will really get the trophy fish to strike if you throw the bladed jig at night. When sight is limited, the vibration of the bait sends fish over the edge. The strikes on summer nights using the ChatterBait have gotten me out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning to get those big old fish to strike. Using a mental grid, make clockwise cast and cover the water with the bait. In the summer, I'll let the fish tell me how they want the bait presented. If you notice you're getting strikes but the fish are not getting hooked, I'll shorten the trailer. If that does not work, I'll fish the ChatterBait without a trailer until I begin to hook up with the fish. You will find in the summer, depending on the mood of the fish, that when they are more aggressive, a faster retrieve works. But when they are inactive, slowing down the retrieve will get them to bite. From a fisheye view, this is what that bladed jig is doing under the water when you fish it vertically. When you let it rise up into the water column and you let it flutter back down into those weeds. Don't be afraid to get weeds on that bait, but always make sure you pop it free, give it a few jerks. So you need to feel that chatter from the tip of that rod down into the butt. You need to feel that vibration. That lets you know that that bait's working for you. And as you see here, who could resist that? As it moves up and down in the water column, fish that bladed jig vertically. Jig it and catch fish. No matter what body of water you're fishing, I want you to take that samurai sword mentally and chop that water in half. And what are you going to be left with? Exactly what you see here in the picture. A top, a middle, and a bottom water column. What I like to do is have lures rigged up that are going to target these different sections. This lets me fish effectively. It lets me power fish because I'll target a few lures on top, a few lures that are for the midsection, and then the bottom, and I'll move on. I'll keep moving. And what that ChatterBait does is it eliminates a few of these different changes for me. I could fish the ChatterBait slow and target the bottom. I could fish it with a medium pace and bring it right through that middle water column. And in the summer months, I could burn that ChatterBait right through the top water column. I could also fish the bait vertically that I talked about. So now you're letting the bait rise and fall. And as it falls, that blade is going to flutter all the way down and emit a vibration. It's going to emit flash. The ChatterBait is a lure that I feel is the Frankenbait. You know, you get that body of like that crankbait, you get a flash of a spinnerbait, you throw a little swim bait on the back of it for a trailer, and you have a lot of baits in one that can target all those different sections of the water column. So it's a no-brainer. You want to fish the water column effectively, productively, I would rig up a bladed jig, a ChatterBait, whatever you choose. There's tons of different variations of the bladed jig out there. Check it out and target different sections of the water column.
Right next to the boat. Look at this guy. He's not a giant. Let's get him in there. One smoke rod, smoke reel. And I have it paired with that ZMan Project Z ChatterBait flipping curl. See, we're fishing that early spring. That little paddle that this Crawfish trailer is giving this ChatterBait is awesome. Not a giant. We're catching them. It's starting to trestle. We're on fish. We're not going to leave fish. So my camera lady is ready to weather out the storm out here. I see some dark clouds coming, but we're catching them. This is awesome. Let's let this guy go. Thanks for biting. We're not giants, but we are getting the blade on. It's early spring. Weather's crazy. You see it's raining on us. Tomorrow we're supposed to get snow flurries, so it's very early. It's only April 2nd. We're catching it. Right here is the bait that's working. It's a ZMan Project Z ChatterBait. And on a cloudy day like this, I'm going for a little more brighter color. So that's why you got the chartreuse, you got the turquoise, and you got that white shad pattern. And that's a flipping curl right there. It's a ZMan bait also. And we're connected. Throwing it out there. Just slowly bringing it across the bottom. Keep in contact with it. They're inhaling it. It's raining. You wouldn't think to be out here. You want to be warm, toasty on the couch. Get out of the water. Fish are biting. It can be a little funky at times, but spring fishing is good fishing. So check out the ZMan products. Hook up with some bass. Keep it real.
When fishing a bladed jig in the spring, I really like to use a Crawfish trailer. I feel it bulks the bait up a little bit. The claws give me a little more flair as that bait falls into the water column. Really entices those fish to strike. As we change from cold water and we transition into May, and then eventually we get into the summer bite, August, you'll see me switch it from the Crawfish trailer. I would go to a Zoom Fluke. I would go to a minnow of some sort. But definitely I would start my season throwing a Crawfish trailer and then transition into a Zoom Fluke, a minnow as the trailer for my bladed jigs. My go-to confidence bait in all seasons is the ZMan Chatter bait. I love the Project Z. This color is great for the ice out. You got that chartreuse, you know, it's sexy. And that's what those fish want after that long winter's nap. And it's the sexier shad color, a 3/8 ounce. And with the ZMan Chatter baits, you could work whatever section of the water column you want. You could burn them, you could crawl them across the bottom. But what I like to also do with the ZMan Chatter baits is I throw them out and I vertically jig them back to the boat. So you get the lift and then you get the drop. So you're targeting the entire water column when you're bringing this back. Fish it slow, add a little trailer on the back of that, whether it's a zoom fluke, or you want to throw a little crayfish. Check it out though, the 3/8 ounce is what I go with. Sexier shad, ZMan Chatterbait, Project Z, you won't be disappointed. In the summer months, when going out at night, try throwing the ZMan Chatterbait. While some friends are throwing top water baits, buzz baits, I take my fishing under the water and let that chatter do the talking. You'll be surprised at how this bait excels in dark conditions. No doubt the bladed jig is a frankenbait lure. You get that spinner bait meets crankbait meets jig. I'm telling you, this thing triggers bites in so many conditions. You gotta try it. If you're not fishing one, tie one on this season and just explore the possibilities of what bringing a bladed jig to your game and how it can improve your fishing. It's my power fishing search bait. Lets me cover water effectively and efficiently and eliminate sections of water that's not producing. My love for the chatterbait runs deep, and it has produced for me time and time again. It has caught me fish when other baits seemed to stop producing and the fish turned off. It truly is one of the most versatile baits on the market and has a way of preventing the fish to have lockjaw. From its hex-shaped blade, its swim jig-like body, and its crankbait wobble, it fishes like a spinnerbait on steroids. It's no wonder why it has gained so much popularity among anglers. Make sure you guys, this season, tie on the bladed jig and see for yourself. This has been a presentation of the Real Deal Fishing Show. Get schooled at the Kayak Bass Class.